think it's too much to answer in this time, I'll just give you some feedback on that, and we'll do it another time. So it's not because I'm ignoring you, it's just because this stuff is filtering through really quickly, and I can't always, and I can sometimes be a little long-winded or verbose. Okay? So let's jump right in. We are talking about today about the number one thing that holds people back from achieving their goals and dreams. And this is something that I have discerned from working with, gosh, I don't know, hundreds if not thousands of people from all over the world. And it is without fail the biggest goal destroyer, dream killer that I have seen. And it happens time and time again. There's a lot of things that fuel that, which we'll get into. But without fail, the number one thing that holds people back, the number one thing that keeps people from their goals, the number one thing that keeps people from their dreams, the number one thing that takes the hot air out of the New Year's resolutions, right? Every year we start in 2016. Well, I guess we start that every year. So whether it's 1999, 2002, 2015, we start this thing off in January 1 where we have our New Year's resolutions, and we get the gusto and the gumph, and this is going to be the year I'm going to this, and this is going to be the year I'm going to that, right? We have this whole list of things we'll do. And then without fail, as time goes on, we're really motivated at first, and then all of a sudden it starts to trickle away, right? It starts to trickle away. We start to lose some of the luster from it. We start to lose some of our drive from it. An example is sometimes some of you will hop on here and you say, this is going to be the time I'm going to push the heart button the most. This is the time I'm going to push the like button the most. And then as it starts to go on, we start to forget about what our initial commitment was. Oh, I was going to push the like button a bunch. I was going to push the heart button a bunch. We say, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 4 times a week this year, every week for the year. And then what happens is there's one day we feel kind of tired and we say, I've been doing pretty good. I can take today off. And then pretty soon it trickles away. We will say, we come fired up with goals. We come fired up with dreams. I see this happen time and time again in groups I oversee. We sign up for a new program and we hit it with running. Oh, I'm going to soak up it all. And then we all of a sudden make one little tiny excuse for ourselves. One little tiny excuse and it falls off. And what I found is the number one thing that holds people back from their goals and their dreams, that keeps them from accomplishing things, that keeps them from moving forward in life, that keeps them sitting on the sidelines of life instead of being in the game, is inaction or failure to take action. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times, and you've all heard me say this before, so this shouldn't be a shock. You've all heard me talk about this before, and if you haven't, and this is your first time being in one of the chats or hearing me say this, it's failure to take action or inaction. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times we fall back on this whole inaction thing as an excuse. And the excuse of it becomes, I can't because, and then we fill in the blank, right? We all have a library of blanks that we use to fill in. I saw South Africa. New Zealand. I just saw New Zealand pop up. I can't travel to New Zealand because I don't have the money in my account right now to travel to New Zealand. And then we stop there. Well, that may be true at the time, meaning we don't have the full financial thing, but there's always an action that we can take towards it. See, where people get stuck and when people get confused and where people get sidetracked with this whole idea of taking action or choosing inaction is they think that it has to go from 0 to 5 million. It has to go from A to Z. We have to say, I want to go to New Zealand and I'm in New Mexico and I want to be in New Zealand now. Well, they negate the steps in the middle of it. You see, there's a process to achieving one goal or one dream. It's not like we wake up on New Year's Day and we say, okay, this is going to be the year I'm losing 20 pounds. This is going to be the year I'm going to get married. This is the year I'm going to travel the world. This is the year I'm going to make $1 million. We snap our fingers and the genie pops up and says, poof, okay, master, here you go. Wouldn't that be lovely? But it doesn't quite work that way, does it? It doesn't quite work that way, does it? Uh-oh, did Facebook Live just freeze? It looks like it might have. Let me see. Hold on one second. Facebook Live just might have frozen. Uh-oh. Okay, Periscope, give me 1 minute. I think Facebook Live froze. So we gotta fix this here over here. The joys of technology. But at least I think I caught it this time. think we're back in business. Yeah, I think we're back in business. Facebook Live, I think it froze. Did it freeze for all of you? Because it looked like it froze on my end. Or maybe not. Maybe I just got impatient. Okay, let's just make sure this is working again. And Periscope, I appreciate you all still sitting here diligently pushing the hearts and supporting. I think the Facebook platform seems to be working a little bit better and being more consistent with the crashes. Facebook Live seems to have a little bit of it crashes sometimes. So, okay, Facebook Live's working again. So, wouldn't it be great if the genie would just pop out and grant us those goals? But it doesn't work that way. And, you know, if we had a genie, if we all had the genie, we probably wouldn't appreciate the work that we put into it. We probably wouldn't appreciate the things that we have when we have them because, let's be honest, when you have to put in some blood, sweat, and tears and some emotions and all those things into it, it makes it a lot more worthwhile, right? The cake always tastes sweeter when you bake it. Right? The cookies always taste more delicious when you spend the time and the intoxicating aroma of them is infecting you. I don't know about you, but I love to barbecue. And I'm at the point in my life where I almost have this philosophy where I don't even want to go out to eat with anything that's barbecued because I enjoy the process of barbecuing so much more. It seems like it's so much more rewarding for me when I sit down and eat something that's barbecued and I made it as opposed to going somewhere else. And that's the reason. And so if we had a genie, if we had this person, this thing, this human, this man, woman, this ethereal being, whatever it was that just popped out of the lamp and did the whole thing and gave us our stuff, after a while we'd stop appreciating it, right? All of you know that. I mean, we can look at statistics, right? Most people will say time and time again, if you could have one thing change in your life, what would it be that would make the biggest change? People say, without fail, winning the lottery. There is some big study that was done in the last few months, and they surveyed, you'll have to forgive me, I cannot remember the age group they surveyed, but it was I want to say it was like 20s, mid-20s to mid-30s. And the sampling body asked these people what would be the biggest thing that would make the biggest difference in your life, what would change? And without fail, they all said winning the lottery. They all said winning the lottery because in their mind they think, well, I don't know what's in their mind, but I'm assuming that in their mind they think that would solve all their problems. That would solve all their problems and all of a sudden all their hopes and dreams would come true. But the reality is if we look at statistics, I think it's something like 91% of people who have won the lottery end up financially worse off than they were before they won it and go and report and say that it is the single biggest reason why it was one of the biggest regrets they had in their life. Because they have all this money, they think they get to go and buy all their dreams and come in the form of their little toys or whatever it is. But it doesn't work that way, does it? It doesn't work that way, does it? You see, we should all be thankful we don't have the genie. We should all be thankful that we don't have the magic lamp because it forces us to put some work in, which is where this whole idea of action and inaction comes from. We may say we want to go to New Zealand and we're in New Mexico and we get frustrated because we can't just go right to that. And then we say, it's not in the works for me. But taking action is not about just having your fingers snap or the genie pop out and then going from A to Z. Taking action is about taking the steps. Taking the steps towards what you want and valuing yourself and what you want, your dream, your goal, enough to begin to start to walk. Right? You might walk first, you might even crawl first, but eventually you'll start to pick up steam. Eventually you'll go from a crawl to a walk, and eventually you'll go from a walk to a run, and very soon you're going to be on an all-out sprint. Because the closer you get to your goal, the more you've accomplished along the way, the more momentum you have behind you, right? And so if you want to go from New Mexico to New Zealand, the first step might be for you is just to start to research about when the best time of year is. Because that's an action towards it, isn't it? Check Facebook. I checked. It's working now. Thank you for checking. And that might be something like, it might be doing some research about the best time of year to go. Another thing might be is looking at another action you could take is looking at some research and seeing when the best time of year is for airline rates. Another action you could take is start planning about when you could go, where you'd want to stay, what island you'd want to go to. All those types of things, right? It might be printing off some pictures, printing off some brochures so you can surround your mind with the things that you want to focus on. And then it might be maybe getting your passport, applying for a passport, getting a visa. It also might be saying, okay, well, every week, starting now, I'm giving up 2 of my Starbucks. I'm putting that in my New Zealand fund. And yeah, it might not be a lot, $2 and something cents, $3 and something cents, but it adds up really quick. If you put away $6 a week for a whole year, that ends up being like $350 almost, right? It adds up really quickly. And so you might not be able to go to New Zealand right away, but you could set up a plan where just sacrificing your Starbucks 2 a week, you could get there in probably a year or in 2 years. Right? You could look at it and say, okay, I've seen tickets before, round trip from California to New Zealand for $700 and something. I've seen that before. And you could save that in 2 years just by giving up 2 Starbucks. That's not even counting the other creative things you could do. Maybe eating out 1 less time a week. Maybe going through and volunteering your time on the weekend to do or taking the recycling in, or offering to do some book work for a friend, or helping them organize some things, or whatever that is. Right? There's some creative ways you could do it. And all the time you're planning it out. And if you need to go on a budget, you could look at things. There's all sorts of resources for that. There's a website called, what is it? I think it's couchsurfing.com or couchsurfers.com. I don't know if that's still out there. But it's something where you go on there, and if you're not going to pay for a hotel, you can meet people around the world, and they'll offer you up a couch for free. You can stay in their house, stay in their apartment, all those types of things. The point is this: there are things out there that will make that work for you if you're willing to make it work. You know, if you're eating on a budget and you have a Costco membership, go somewhere in the city where Costco's nearby. You could go there literally every single day and live off the samples. Right? You just go in there, flash your card. Hi, it's me. Go in and do a round in the samples. You go 2-3 times, you're stuffed. Right? Go on the Groupon, go on to TravelZoo, all these types of things. You'll have these festivals. Look for food festivals that do those. There is so many ways you can do this and make it work. There's so many ways you can do this and make it work. I will, when I'm going to a hotel, and if I'm going to be in a hotel for a long period of time, I have a little stovetop that I bring with me, and pots and pans and everything, and I bring it and do all my cooking. I do all my cooking, and then what I'll do is I'll take the money I would have spent eating out and put it aside and save it and invest it into something else that I really want to do, some other trip or something like that. It saves tons of money. I remember I was at a conference one time, and I did the math, and I figured out that I was asking a couple of people who were attending the conference with me, and this was like a 15-day-long conference. And I asked them, what are you spending every day on eating out? And they were saying, well, probably like $10 here, $20 here. I think they said the average seemed to be about $65. The average person is paying between eating out for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, because these guys were all going out to dinners together. They were switching restaurants up. So I think it ended up being between $55 and $65. I did the math, and $55 over 10 days was what, $550. $55 over 15 days, that ended up being like $700 they spent on eating out. I went to the grocery store and I bought all my food, all my breakfasts, my lunches, my dinners, my snacks, my waters, everything. And I think I spent $100 for all 15 days, netting me a gain of, if I would have done it the other way like everybody else, like $650, $700 that I didn't spend because I wanted to make that investment myself. It was an action I chose to take. So what I had is I had that net gain that I could take that money then and put it to somewhere else. Or it's not a debt that I have to recover or pay off. The point is, right, is if you want to be creative about this and do these types of things, and if it matters enough to you, you can do it. It's about not taking the action and going from A to Z, or going from a crawl to a sprint, or going from New Mexico to New Zealand right now. It's about deciding about and choosing an action, because what most people do is they just take an inaction, and they come up with this idea to say, well, it's not for me. I can't do that. It's impossible. Right? The ones you'll hear time and time again is people immediately say, I can't afford it, I don't have the time, or it's not meant for me. Right? Those are usually the big 3 we'll hear a lot. And all of us have probably said those at some point. I'm willing to bet for almost each and every one of those things that if you got a little creative about it and you challenged yourself to have your action be not about going from A to Z, but about going from A to A plus, to B plus, or from 1 to 1.5 to 2 to 2.2 to 2.4 to 2.3 to 3 to 5, and then you get to 100. about these little incremental steps, what you'll find is each of those actions that you're taking are going to build on each other. You stop that Starbucks today, and then you stop it again on Thursday, and you put that up. Guess what? That's $6 that adds up. All of a sudden, you do it again next week, you're up to 12. You do it again another week after that, and you're up to 18, and then you're in the 20s. Really quick, you're in triple digits. Right? You skip a meal out there, and it adds up even more. I was talking with someone the other day about eating out, and they were saying, well, I really want to try to eat. I want to try to save some money. I want to build up my nest egg, and one of my challenges is eating out. And we were talking about just the process of eating out. And could you still eat out, but bring your food out with you? Yeah, start going out on picnics. Eat out on picnics. It's summertime for most of us. I know in parts of the world it's opposite season, so it might be a little cooler. But for those of us who are in the midst of summer and we're treated with longer days, right? Great opportunity to take a picnic. Eat out, but eat out at a picnic. Right? If you have a goal, if you have something that you want and it matters enough to you, stop focusing on trying to just get it right now, especially if that holds you back. Now, if you can get it right now, awesome, go for it. But focus on taking some steps. The biggest dream destroyer, the biggest goal ruiner is inaction. It's a failure to take action. It's a failure to do that one simple step that will help move you forward. If you have something in your life that is worth working towards, if you believe that you're worth working towards, right, it's taking the steps. Any of you have ever been in a relationship and have ever encountered any sort of relationship challenges or relationship struggles, you know that things may not be just perfect right away. Right? But if you work on things consistently time and time again, the most healthy relationships that I've seen, are not ones where when somebody meets somebody and then they all of a sudden they go, oh my gosh, and everything is so wonderful and amazing and fantastic, and they romanticize the heck out of it. Because I don't see the success rate in those as I do with the ones where people are coming in and they're approaching it step by step. They meet somebody, they like somebody, they say, hey, I could spend some more time with this person. They take their time with it. They're not jumping in head first and all of a sudden they're every 9 to 5, 24/7 around this person. They're not putting them all over their social media or everything like that, but they're taking their time and they're really getting to know the person and who they are with the person. Those relationships seem time and time again the more successful. Anytime I see a friend or a family member, I hear a story about them and they just meet the person, they're already got them all over their social media talking about the birds and the bees and what their kids are going to be named, I get a little worried. And most of you have likely known somebody or a few people like that, where you go in so fast with it like that, because so many of us, we have this goal, we have this end goal of the relationship, right? But we forget that what we really want is a really loving, long-term, fulfilling relationship, right? And so we just hop into it. We dive into it. And we're not getting a chance to see where the shore's at, who we are in it. Take the small steps. Take the small actions. Go on the date, or put yourself up on the dating website, or take yourself, or fall in love with yourself first. Decide what part you are in your journey. For business, same kind of thing, right? People will go in and they'll say, okay, I want to work for myself. And they get this idea about what they want to do, and then as soon as the idea comes up, I want to work for myself. I have this idea, I want to invent it. And then they come up with this idea, and then they run into the first obstacle. Oh, I don't know how to make that. And they say, oh, well, I guess it's not meant for me. I've been there before. I remember about 8 years ago, I had this, what I thought was a brilliant idea for an invention. And I talked myself out of it. I don't know an engineer. I don't know how to make it. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. Blah, 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 blah. And so I chose not to act on it. About 6 years ago, I saw it. Somebody else had made it, and they had licensed it to some huge company. Huge company. I don't know how much it was for. I didn't really care. But what it taught me was a really valuable lesson. 1, believe in yourself. 2, take the action. I had a 6-year head start on them. And if I really wanted to, right, if I was really committed, if I was more committed to my outcome, if I was more committed to my goal, I was more committed to my dream than I was my excuse, if I had more commitment to what I wanted than the inaction, I could have found an engineer. I could have met somebody who might know an engineer, who might know where to go to meet an engineer. I could have started conversations, right? I could have said to myself, well, I don't know how to do that. But, oh, I know Joe. And Joe may know somebody who knows how to do it. Hey, Joe, do you know anybody who might know how to do this? And then Joe might say, I don't know anybody, but I know Bob. And Bob knows how to do things like that. And then Joe introduces me to Bob, and I talk to Bob, and Bob says, wow, that's really cool. I know Mary, and Mary would be a great person to bring in on this. And all of a sudden now, I didn't even know Bob and Mary, but Bob and Mary and I are talking about this idea I have. That never happened for me because I valued the excuses more than I valued my own dream, my own goal. That never happened for me because my action I chose to take was an action. I chose to come up with all the reasons why it wouldn't work. I chose to come up with all the reasons why I couldn't make it work. Instead of having that one idea about how could I make this happen. It doesn't take a mountain to get your dream or your goal started. All it takes is a little bit of dirt. And then one day you add a little bit more, you add a little bit more, you add a little bit more. And pretty soon you're going to be standing on top of your own mountain. A lot of times we set these goals, we set these dreams, and we look way up and we say, holy fuck, that is far away. And it might be too. Let's be real, it might be. But if you start just adding a little bit of layers, day after day, day after day, day after day, eventually you're going to make it to the top. Inaction is the biggest dream destroyer and goal ruiner. If you want to make a difference in your life, you want something you don't have, you want to travel to South Africa or New Zealand, you want an amazing relationship, you want to create a new career, you want to build a $1 million business, you want to have six-pack abs, you want to run a marathon, all those types of things, it starts with the first step. It starts with taking those one little steps and looking at, while you may not be able to control all this, what can you control today? What can you do today? I promise you this, that if you all commit to choosing actions, specific, small, daily actions, you commit to building your mountain instead of just trying to teleport yourself to the top, you will absolutely one day find yourself standing on top of it. Now, a note to remember, and then we'll get to questions. Remember, as you climb up, any of you have ever been at altitude or lived at altitude, you know that as you go up, mountain weather changes. Right? Mountain weather is different than the weather at sea level. Every time I go up into the mountains, and I love being up in the mountains, I'm always continually amazed about how the storm systems, the clouds move so much faster than they do at sea level. You have it could be really warm, and then an hour later it could be really cold. The wind is way more intense. Rain systems can just blow through there like nothing. It could go from sunny to snowy and then snowy to sunny. The point is this, is as you build up, be prepared for storms because they will happen. And when a storm comes through, the worst action you can take is choosing to turn around and go back down. Because now you've given up your progress. Just because a storm blows through doesn't mean you ever lose your progress. You only lose your progress if you give up and go back. Sometimes when there's storms, the best thing we can do is we find a big rock, we find something, we create a shelter, and we weather it out. And if you got the right equipment, you got your headlamp, you got your poles, your walking sticks, maybe your ice pick, even amidst the storm, you can still make some steps up. You can still keep building. Your progress may not be as fast as you'd like, right? You might be used to making this much progress, and during the storm you might make this much, but guess what? That much is still progress. When climbers are practicing for the ascent of Mount Everest, they'll often do these little, I think the average ascent takes about 40 days when somebody's going up and fully acclimatizing to it. And they'll often do these little tiny hikes, right, where they're only going up this much, and then they come back down. Then they go up this much, and they come back down. Because it's building up, it's conditioning themselves, it's training their lungs to really make that last ascent. It's conditioning their mind, their heart, their soul, their body to make it up there. You see, we are not going to just teleport. It's not going to happen, and especially during a storm. But we can always make incremental progress. We can always make incremental progress. No progress is made if you go back. No progress is made if you give up. Right? And again, tragically, that's the action that so many people take. Their action of choice is to quit. Their action of choice is to give up. It's not worth it. I had that idea and I didn't even get started. I gave up on it so quick and I saw it. I was like, whoa, there it is. There it is. I don't regret it because maybe if I would have done that, I wouldn't be sitting here talking with you all. And there's nothing I enjoy doing more than doing these kinds of things. But it was there. It was there. So, to sum up, the biggest thing that holds people back in life, the ultimate dream destroyer, the ultimate goal ruiner, is people failing to take action. Or the action they choose is they choose inaction. Action is not about, remember, a goal, a dream is not about having the genie and saying, Genie, I want this. I want to go from New Mexico to New Zealand right now. I want $1 million in my bank account. And the genie pops up and says, oh, okay. They do that whole thing. That's not what it's about. It's about saying, I have this goal and what are some steps I can take? I may not have the money in my bank account to go from New Mexico to New Zealand right now. But what I do have is I have a Starbucks habit where I'm going 4 times a week. And I am committed to taking 2 of those off and putting them in my New Zealand fund. I may not have the money in my account right now to go from New Mexico to New Zealand, but what I do have is I have a habit of eating out 4 times a week. And I'm committed to taking that along with my Starbucks and putting them away in my New Zealand fund. Whoa, holy smokes, there we go. I just got $5, $6 from Starbucks. I got 12 or 15 bucks from eating out. I'm just saving now $18 to $20 a week. Boy, at that rate, I'm going to be on my way to New Zealand. 10 weeks, I'll have 100 bucks. And in 50 weeks, I'm going to have 500. I could be in New Zealand in 2 years. I may not have the money to go from New Mexico to New Zealand right now, but I'm committed to figuring out how to do it. I've heard about all these blogs about people who use points to get to these places. And thank you so much, everybody, for all the hearts and thumbs up. I appreciate it. And I've read all these things about how you could use points. So there's these things. I remember Jesse talked about that couch surfing site. Maybe I could start researching that. I may not have the money to go to in my account right now to go from New Mexico to New Zealand, but I do have the ability to take an action towards that. I may not have the ability to, I may not be in the relationship of my dreams right now, but I can take some actions towards that. I may not be building $1 million business right now, but I can take some actions towards that. Right? I may not be in the career I want to be in right now, but I can take some actions towards that. Figure out what it is I love, what my passion is, what I'm excited about, what excites me. Right? So many of you have seen and asked me questions about Unlock Your Greatness in October. Without fail, I will hear time and time again, I would love to go, but, and then here comes the excuses. I promise you this, it's 3-4 months away. If you're committed to coming to Unlock Your Greatness, you can make it come. You can make it happen. There were people we had last year from all over the world who, they did not think they were going to make it there, but they decided, I'm going to make it happen. And it worked out. They made it. They made it happen. It will happen time and time again. I will hear it all the time with people when they'll sign up, want to do coaching programs with me. Say, Jesse, I'd love to do coaching. I don't know if I have the time. I don't know if I have the money. I don't know if it'll work for me. And then what I always ask them is say, do you believe this will help you? And they'll say, well, if they say yeah, I say, okay, we need to do this. And you know what? It's the most amazing thing. When they decide to do it, it works out. I don't know if that's God, the universe, whatever it is, but it works out. If you have a goal, you have a dream, commit to achieving it, and the way you do that is commit to taking an action towards it. You're not going A to Z, 1 to 100 or anything like that. Go from 1 to 1.5. When you get off of here today, when you log off and you go on for the rest of your day, ask yourself, what is my 1.5 today? What is the 1.5 I'm going to do? And if you do that today, and then maybe tomorrow you go for 2 and 2.5, you're going to get there pretty quick. Your mountaintop is not that far away. You just got to start building it. Lots of people have been on Everest. No one's been at the top of your mountain, and only you can get there. All right? That's what I got for you all today. Thank you so much for your attention. I saw there's a lot of comments, a lot of feedback in there, and I apologize if I didn't respond to all of them. I like to, really engage with this. I appreciate all the hearts, the thumbs up, the smiley faces, all the facial expressions that come through on Facebook Live. What questions do you all have for me? And I'm looking at both screens right now, so you can put them both on, and I will respond as Periscope, Facebook Live. And remember that I see 4 on Facebook Live, 1 at a time on Periscope. If I don't respond to it right away, that is because it fluttered away too fast. But I'm looking for questions now. So let me have your questions. We have about 10 minutes for questions. I know I started a little late today again, and I apologize for my technological, how do you say that word? Is it the gaff word? Is it gaffar? G-A-F-F-E. How is that pronounced? I wish we could do a pronunciation thing on these things. How do you plan around family when relocating to another country? That's a great question. What I would do, and I would suggest, is really getting down a list, sit down with the family, and prioritize things out as a family. What is the number 1 priority? What's the number 2 priority? What's the number 3 priority? Number 4 priority? So on and so forth. So, for example, the number 1 priority might be the school system, or the number 1 priority might be the timing of it, the seasons. The number 1 priority might be the transition with a job. Okay. Identify the priorities, and then what you can start doing is you can start to make steps around each of those priorities in the order of what you feel as a family is most important to the family. Because now what's happening in that dynamic is you're taking everybody's needs into account, as opposed to somebody just making a decision, which is an emotional decision and what they think is best for everybody else, but may not be what everybody thinks is best for everybody else. I think as a family unit, you have a really amazingly beautiful opportunity, because transitions can be hard. And there might be some resistance to it, but if you get everybody's input into it, and you come together as a team and you work together as a team, you can really make things happen. Okay? You can really make things happen. Just so you know my goal for 2 years. I do not know your goal for 2 years. I'm sure there's lots of goals in there. I'm gone far. I'll go further, but it doesn't depends only on me. What can I do more? There's always more you can do. And here's the thing. Anybody who has goals, and I appreciate the question, because anybody who has goals that might be dependent on other people, right? We need other people to be involved, all those types of things. There's always other things we can do. So let's say for example, I want to go into a business deal with somebody. And let's say I was going to shoot for something where I wanted to partner up with like an Elon Musk or a Richard Branson type of thing. I may not have Richard Branson's phone number on speed dial. I may not have Elon Musk's personal email. But what I might have is I might have the ability to do some research on them. I might have the ability to figure out what he would need, Elon or Richard Branson would need to want to do a business thing with me. What I might be able to research some things that other people have been able to be successful in doing businesses with them. I might be able to contact one of those people and say, hey, Joe, I got Joe back on the phone again. Hey, Joe, I know you were able to get this thing with Richard Branson before. What did you do? How did you make it happen? How did you have to prepare for? What were the things that you need to put together for him? Right? There's lots of research I could do. So then when I'm getting to the point where it depends on other people, or if I need to involve other people, I'm ready for them. Right? A lot of times what we'll do is we'll say, I have this goal, it depends on somebody else. And then we throw our hands up in the air and we say, well, the goal's done because this person's not happy, this is on board. There's always actions that we can do. There's always things that we can do to take those steps forwards to prepare for it. And if we want it enough, we'll keep at it. We'll definitely keep at it. Do you believe in fate, or do you think life is what you make of it? Both. I think both. I think that I definitely believe there's fate. And I think that we have a choice in that fate, meaning that I think all of us have a potential that we're born with. And Periscope, I missed that question. If you could put it up again. I think there's all a potential that we're born with, that there's a potential inside of us. And I think we have choices along the way with it. I think people definitely come in our lives for a reason. I think we get to decide. We have a lot of choice in deciding what that reason is. Right? There's situations that happen, and somebody can choose victim, somebody can choose victor. I think we have a choice. I think whatever happened for a reason, and I think we get to decide that reason. So I believe in both. I'll never give up, whatever. And does that mean you did not like my answer? If you didn't like it, I apologize if that wasn't good feedback for you. What other questions do you have? Periscope, I saw that there was another one that popped up there. Last from me, sorry, no, apologize. I like the questions. I want to move from corp to disaster relief. This normally goes for security to volunteer. Big problem for me. It doesn't have to. You know, the key word you said there is normal, and that's there's a key word in there, because normally is that, but it doesn't mean it has to be that. And also, we have to again look at value systems there. Security might be financial security, but what kind of financial security do you get when your health or your stress levels are always jeopardized and compromised? Right? We have to think about things like that too. So you have to weigh those all in the scheme of life about where, I mean, would you rather be, if you could only be one, would you rather be rich and miserable, or would you rather be happy, fulfilled, and, you know, not rich? Which would be more important to you? Those would be really powerful questions to ask. If you want to do that, but you also want to have the security with it, then those are different questions to ask. It's, what do I need to do? How do I make this happen? See, most of us, what we'll say is, I want to go from here to here. This is what's typical. That means I'd be in that place. That doesn't mean that has to be that way at all. See, the worst thing we can do is we can subscribe to what happened with somebody else's story, and then make it our own. Just because that was what the path was for one person doesn't mean that has to be the path for somebody else. You're your own person. You get to chart your own path, right? You'll hear it time and time again that I remember one of the most inspiring stories I heard in the last few years, or I guess I read it, was there was a story about a person who worked for, I want to say it was, I can't remember. It was some like mail delivery company, and I don't think they ever made more than 20. I think they made like $20,000 or $30,000 a year, you know, and they averaged that for their entire career, for something like a 30 or 40-year career. This person was an amazing saver. They did not spend beyond their means. They did not overconsume. They were happy with just living on minimal. They invested. They ended up retiring with something like I think it was like $1.2 or $1.6 million. I mean, it was something that if you were just conceptualize and say, if you listen to the media and they'd say, oh, that's this, that's that, blah, 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 you can't this, you can't that. That person didn't do it. They didn't, what their version of normal didn't matter. You know, they chose something else. They wanted to retire with financial security. So they made adjustments. They did things in a way that most people didn't, and they did that. They had a different value system. They had a different belief system, right? They had all those types of things going on for them, and it was something that made it work. So we all have to look at our own values, our own beliefs, those types of things, right? And get that in alignment. If we base everything on money and we have a dollar amount that we think is really important to us, that we want to have, which I think everybody should, we should all have a dollar amount. Ask yourself what you need to do to get there. What are the steps we need to have? You know, do we need to spend more now and invest in ourselves now to get more later? Do we need to make some adjustments now? Right? All those types of things. You want to factor those in your life. And again, remember, just because whatever the normal is, it doesn't mean that has to be you. Especially if you're getting what your version of the normal is from the news, because they're going to paint a picture to make you scared and fearful so that you tune in every week and drive the ratings up. Right? There are no life coaches here. This is something that I'd love to do. First steps. I would definitely look into reaching out to someone, contacting them. You can always reach out to me. You can always reach out to somebody else. There's coaches that are going to be all over the world. So what I would do is look into, research some different coaches. Go on Facebook, go on Google, go on any sort of thing like that, and see which ones connect with you, which ones resonate with you, which ones right? Everybody's going to have a different philosophy, a different approach, a different belief system, all those types of things. And you want to find, what I would encourage you is not go by somebody who's local or somebody who is down the street from you, but go by somebody who you get a feeling that would help. I will tell almost every single person that I meet with when there's a prospective client, I will say something like, if you don't feel that we're connecting here, this isn't for you, right? There needs to be a vibe. There needs to be a belief in that person that I could help, or that if somebody else can help. So if those of you who are shopping around for somebody to help you out, go off of your gut feeling. If you have a gut feeling that that person can help you, if you have a gut feeling that that person is going to be the difference that makes a difference in your life, what I encourage you to do is I encourage you to go with it, act on it, and make it happen. Leave the fear behind you, dive in, and then start in the process of it. A lot of times what the fear voice will do with us is the fear voice will try to talk us out of things. It'll try to maybe rationalize something. Oh, well, this person's closer, this person's down the street, my mom went to this person, all those types of things. This one might be a little bit more affordable, this one has better hours, so on and so forth. That may be here's another way of looking at it. Let's say that you had some sort of, God forbid, some sort of medical condition and you needed surgery. And there was a surgeon, and it wasn't like you had to have the surgery right that minute, but you knew you had to have the surgery very soon. So you walk down the street, and there's a local surgeon down the street, and you walk in, and you go in the office, and it's kind of rusty, and it's kind of, looks old and musty. And you meet the surgeon, and you just get this uneasy feeling from them. And they look like they can barely see out of one eye. Their hands shaking like this as they're talking to you. They smell like booze. And you think, you got this feeling. Okay, meanwhile, your friend says, oh, well, hey, I talked to the surgeon that lives 400 miles away. You should give him a phone call. And so you call up the surgeon who lives 400 miles away. You have a great feeling with them. You go and you drive over there 400 miles. You meet them. The office is immaculately clean. Their hands are steady. They look like they have laser sharp eyes. And you have to make a decision. Which one are you going to do? The one's nearby, the one's close, the one might be a little less affordable, but we're talking about surgery here. Who are you going to go with? You're going to probably go with the one that's 400 miles away, that you got a gut feeling in them and their ability, right? Our unconscious mind is picking up and processing information all the time, and it is going to be picking up way more than our conscious mind ever will. Those of you who are going to come to Unlock Your Greatness will get into a lot about the difference between unconscious and conscious mind and how you can tap into your unconscious more and use it really effectively for you. If you get a gut feeling about someone, good, bad, trust that. And then when it's good and it's going for something you want, act on it and go with it. This is my first live chat with you, and it's safe to say I'll definitely be around for future chats. Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Misha, for saying that, and welcome. I'm glad you got to spend some time today, and I hope you weren't too affected by my technologically challenged delay. I got a little bit late start. Now I learned my lesson. Okay, we have time for, well, actually, we're a little bit over time. Anybody have any question, one question? Well, I know I probably kept you guys all really long, and I should get going. I don't want to keep my next appointment late. So, with that being said, what's the one action you can take today? What's your 1.5? I'll put a post up on the 1,000 Challenge page right now for it, for those of you who want to comment on it, just so you can start interacting and put it out there and have some accountability. Or you can leave a comment below in the feed here. But again, the worst thing you can do is this. You can walk away from the chat, whether you're on Facebook Live or you're on Periscope. You can walk away and say, oh, that was really good. I feel inspired. This was great. Jesse was kind of funny. Whatever. Maybe he needs to wear a new shirt. And the worst thing you can do is walk away and just say that and then do nothing. Right? Remember, today's about action, and it's about goals and dreams and the thing that will keep you from them and the thing that will push you towards them. You can start building your mountain today. Some of you may have already started building your mountains. Awesome. Take what you learned today and apply it and add the next level. So what is the one action you can do today? I encourage you all to put it in the comments below, or I'll put a post up on Facebook right now, and then you can put it in there and build off of it. Build off it, because all of you are beautiful people, amazing souls, and you deserve to have those goals, those dreams in your life. The only thing that's going to keep you from them is you. Don't give up on them. If you believe in them enough, you got to keep going towards it. And decide on actions that are going to get you there. It may not be the action you take, may not be, again, going from New Mexico to New Zealand right now, but those small, simple steps, they add up. They add up. Right? You may not be able to speak Spanish right now, but I guess what? I bet you if you practice right away for the next 20 minutes, you could probably walk away and at least learn how to say a couple words. So that being said, adios, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day, your night, your evening, your afternoon, wherever you are. And I look forward to seeing you all again next time. Okay? Take care. Bye-bye. Now let's see if I can strategically push all these off. Ooh, swipe down is